Good morning.
Thank you for joining us today. This is the Lowdown with Sheli Brown and Christy and producer Dylan. And today we have a special guest with us, Crystal. But first, safety.
Yes. And this week we are talking about intersections. So make sure you're paying attention to your stop signs, yield signs, railroad crossings. I had an incident this morning. We also saw the video. That was crazy.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad it was the back part and not the front. But yes, make sure you're paying attention to those signs. I know Dover mentioned that they're all so ingrained. Like, we're just used to seeing it. You don't even necessarily have to see the word.
Right.
You just do it. But watch all those signs because it's crazy out there, and people see that yellow light. Oh, I can beat that yellow light. No, let's slow down.
How about you don't try to do that?
Yes, yeah. Just go ahead and take your time. That way you can actually make the next light because you'll be alive to do it.
Yes. Absolutely. How many days is it?
We are at 2 days without a DOT preventable accident and 36 days with no way of getting out and looking. So we're 2 days away from tying that record. Yay! And then by next week, if all goes as planned, when we get there next week, we will be hitting that record come Monday. So some pretty exciting stuff there on our streaks. Yeah.
Yep.
Monday.
We're gonna
Monday
do it.
celebration.
I have faith. We can do it.
We'll be celebrating on Monday.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're going to do something a little bit different. And normally we do a specific topic, but today it's actually twofold. So today we have Crystal. Kind of tell us a little bit about your role here at BCB.
I'm in the compliance, so I would say it's like a core of a desk because I help with safety some, I help with HR some, I help with orientation some. I just help everybody. So because in every department there is something that has to do with compliance when you're talking about FMCSA, which the drivers fall under. So it's no BCB policy, it's FMCSA, and then we trickle down with the BCB policies, which we follow FMCSA, so we're all in compliance.
Absolutely. So that's a pretty intense role, and it's a pretty important role, especially for our drivers. I know that you probably talk to them quite a bit. You talk to a little bit of everybody. How long have you been with us, if in case somebody that's watching hasn't talked to you yet?
We were just talking about it. Time has flown by. I've actually been here a little over 2 months. It feels like I've been here 2 weeks.
It has, but she's accomplished enough for 2 years.
I have my roller skates on. We've been in high gear. I think we have made a lot of accomplishments.
Really good progress.
Yeah, that's helping a lot of departments, not just any specific department. But we have a lot more to go. I would say the growing pains maybe another 2 or 3 months, and then it'll be smooth sailing.
Yes.
So tell me how you got into trucking.
Dylan's turn.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. Real quick, Sheli, can you turn your mic on for me?
Oh.
Yeah. But yes, while we're waiting for that, it has been pretty interesting. I myself have been helping or working with Crystal in trying to get all of our. I guess not logs. Logs are definitely not what I'm looking for here. The reports for the safety bonus and getting everybody on the call and stuff. So lots of different roles.
Because people want to get paid.
Yes, people want to get paid for sure, and there are a lot of different roles.
I think I do a little bit in every department somehow. I don't know how.
Yes. So tell us how you got into trucking and how long you've been in trucking. Because this is not your first rodeo.
No. It actually, I had put my brother-in-law off for several years. He kept saying, Crystal, come work for me. I was like, no. He's had a trucking company for 14 years.
Oh, wow.
And I kept, no, and I would help a little bit, but I wouldn't do it. So finally, he was in desperate need, and I said, okay, I'll come help you, but it's going to be a year. I'll help you find somebody. That's all I'm going to do because I drive 50 miles one way. Well, a year turned into 5 years. And
it's funny how that happens.
Yeah. And he's in pneumatic trailers and they haul frac sand. And of course, the economy slowed down very, very tremendously. So it's kind of my opportunity to kind of slide out. So I did, and it was, I didn't want the other girls in the office to get laid off because they were their sole income. So I was home enjoying life with the grandkids, and just kind of threw my application on Indeed and thought, well, we'll see. And I kind of look every day, and BCB popped up and everything listed on there. It's like, I think I've done a little bit of all that. So I said, send it.
That.
It wasn't, I bet, 3 hours. I had a phone call.
This tells you how badly we needed you.
Yeah, and she goes, this is Sheli. And I said, yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, which one did I send this to? And she goes, BCB. I said, oh, yeah, I remember that. And I mean, it was like, when can you start? I want you here. What can you do? Let's do. I'm like, okay, I'm starting on Monday. And I think this was like a Tuesday.
There you go.
So,
And it was good.
Yes.
It was a good conversation. Obviously, we connected, but the experience that you brought to the table is very evident. It came through on that initial conversation, and it's come through since you've been here. So we're definitely lucky to have you. So.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Love it here.
Good.
So a couple of things that some drivers have asked, and I thought it was very important that we kind of address it here. And since you are the expert, who better to kind of explain that? So a driver needs to renew his CDL. The DM might call him and say, hey, your CDL is expiring in XYZ date. What's the first thing they do? Like, what's that process? I don't know what to do.
So before COVID, it was a whole different process, which a lot of the drivers probably haven't had to deal with the DMV since COVID. So the new process and the best process is going to be, number one, get your birth certificate. So that has been the hardest things for the drivers to get their handle on, because they might have not seen it in 20 years, 50 years. Whatever.
Some of them maybe never got it from mom.
Yes.
You know, and then
or
their wife put it away
and
somewhere.
They moved, whatever it may be.
Because
So
that wasn't
packed
required
away.
before.
No.
This is new.
Yes, for anyone, even without a CDL, anyone that renews your license that I would say has not renewed in the last probably 4 years, is required to take your birth certificate because of the what was we talking about, the identification for all the terrorism and that sort of thing. So take your birth certificate, start finding your birth certificate, because with COVID again, a lot of the county courthouses throughout the United States are limited. Or some don't have online access, just different issues that drivers has ran into and actually had to be off for a week or two trying to resolve it.
And that's money.
Yeah.
That's
money. Yeah. So definitely start getting your hands on your birth certificate if your CDL is going to be expiring within the next year, even next 6 months. Then the second thing is CDL holders cannot make a appointment. It lets you online, but it really isn't official.
Is it state? It depends on the state, because we
probably depends on the state, but most states do not require you to make a appointment as a CDL holder.
Okay.
So from what I've learned from drivers outside of Texas, as well as talking to the state in Austin of Texas, if you show up bright and early before those doors open and you tell them, look, I'm a CDL holder, I'm an over-the-road driver, I need to renew, I need to change my address, whatever it needs to be, have that birth certificate, they're going to get you in and out. Nice. Always remember, if you renew your CDL, send the DM or myself a copy of the paper that they give you, the temporary card. But then that is going to expire, and we put that date into your file. And so when you get the hard copy, send that as well, because that is the copy that we need to keep on file to be compliant with FMCSA.
Now, how would they send it in? Can they just send it in with a load, or what's the best method of sending in
The
that?
best method is if they have like a cam scan sometime, or a picture, if they can take a good picture of it, email. A lot of times they send it in with a load thinking, I'm going to tell my DM it's attached to the load, it's 11 o'clock at night, 4 in the morning. No one knows. And so we shut them down, or we call and we're saying we're going to shut you down. And they're like, oh, wait, I did it. I sent it in with my load 3 weeks ago. Nobody noticed.
And also, if you do send it in on a load, it changes that picture to a scan. So then it's black and white, and sometimes those pictures are hard to see. So
yes, I did have a driver that sent it in that way. And when we tried to put it into our filing system, it was so distorted. It was almost like a little bit of white and the whole thing was black. You couldn't see numbers or anything.
Okay.
So it's much easier if they can snap a picture and email it to me, email it to the DM. That is the perfect way.
Or even text. I mean,
Text
that's an
it,
option
something,
too.
yeah.
Okay. And how far in advance of their expiration should they go for the CDL to renew it? Is there a time limit? Like, what's the best time frame?
The best thing that we're doing here at BCB, it's standing compliant, but it's kind of our thing that we have come up with. I'm letting the DMs know 30 days in advance. I'm reminding them 2 weeks later. And then I'm talking with Scott, that's over the department, about 10 days before the driver expires. Then it's kind of in their ballpark to make sure that driver is routed home, whatever the scenario is with that, or if he's home time. But the one thing BCB has implemented is if you have not sent in, even if you've done it, but it's not in our hands, 3 days prior to the expiration date of your CDL, you will be on safety hold. Any future loads will be taken off, whatever so be it, because we don't want you stuck in Ohio and need to be in Texas to get this done.
Exactly.
Because you're legally not able to drive that
Yeah.
truck.
Yes. So then what do you do
have
with the
a
truck?
load that our customer is upset because it didn't get there, and it's just a big, huge disaster that we could have prevented by doing this, because time flies. It's like, I can't
does.
believe here I've been 2
Exactly.
months.
Exactly.
So we think a month, then we think 2 weeks. The next thing I know, it's time, So I can't totally keep up with all 300 drivers. So I keep up with them to a point. Then I turn it strictly over to the DMs and Scott, and they follow up the last few days.
And another option that our drivers have is they can plan that with their DM. So if their DM tells them, hey, it's a month out, your CDL's coming up, go ahead and have that conversation of, hey, in 2 weeks, my plan is to go home and be home for an extra day so that I can get over there and get that taken care
And
of.
with the CDL, you're not losing time. That's one thing. So if you go early, so you don't expire till July, and you go in April, your expiration date still isn't till your birthday in July.
Oh, that's
So
great.
you're not losing time with your CDL.
Oh, see, and I didn't know that. And I would think that a lot of people would think that same way. Like, I'll wait till it gets closer because that's 3 extra months that, whatever. So that's good. That's great. Okay. And then the second part of that is that also kind of is the same way. The driver needs to get a new DOT physical. What would be the reasons that they would need to get a new DOT physical?
That would be, for one, the expiration date. The second thing would be if you've had something physically change, whether it be surgery, just a health issue, anything along that lines. You always need a recertification, of course, to follow with your HR to return to work. You also need one at that point as well. But any health issues you've had, anything with medications along that line, as soon as you get that as well, it needs to be registered with the DMV. Each state is different on how you can register it, whether it be by fax, email, walk-in, whatever. So I have helped a little bit in getting information if the driver doesn't know, but I do require them to do as much on their own, so that way it goes to their email or whatever if there's an issue, if it didn't go through.
That way they can contact them and not you.
Yes, they contact them, because if it is not registered, in, I believe it's 60 days from the new date, they will downgrade their license. So then they will not be a CDL holder, and you might be on the road in between A to B, and you have
trouble.
Yeah, no commercial license.
So we definitely don't want that. I'm a driver. I go and I get my physical, and I send it to my DM or I send it to you. I'm done, right?
No, ma'am. You need to get your physical. You need to give us a good copy, like you said. But before you send it in, I would recommend go ahead and getting it registered and saying, hey, Crystal, hey, Gavi, whoever your DM is, I've already registered it with my local. It is whoever holds your CDL. The local state that you hold your CDL is where you register it. So if your CDL is in Florida, you have to register through Florida.
Got it.
So make sure you get that registered, because there's no real proof of me just looking at the paper to know I'm taking your word, but I will know because I will get an alert that your license has been downgraded, and that's when I say, stop the truck immediately.
And registering is usually a phone call, a fax, an email.
You have to walk. You can either walk in, email, or fax. So it's pretty painless. I mean,
So-
it really is.
Essentially the same type of process. If you're going to renew your CDL, you're going back to the DMV to register that new physical. You don't necessarily have to get a new CDL,
No.
but you're just giving that updated physical to
because they're
them.
attaching that new physical
To their
that
MVR.
Yes, and if you just walk up and that's all you're doing, it's pretty quick. It's no appointment or anything.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, fantastic. And if they have questions, obviously, we always recommend that they contact you specifically for these types of specific questions. Otherwise, their DM can help them with any types of dates and things like that. But for sure, if they have any specific questions for their state or their local area, you would help them to find those resources.
Yes, definitely.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you joining us. I think that's very helpful for our drivers. We're so happy that you're with us. There's another layer of support that we can provide to our drivers and surrounds, safety.
And the only other thing is we didn't touch on real quick is equipment. Anything that has to do with your equipment, basically the permit book, which is cab cards, insurance, IFTA stickers, IFTA certificates, anything that's keeping you legal in your permit book. You can also get a hold of me if you need a permit book. A permit from Oregon or somewhere. You get a hold of me. I have them at my fingertips. We're getting it uploaded in my cloud, so all DMs will have it a little easier. Hopefully
Perfect.
within the next 6 months, that'll be a lot easier. $22.90. So when you look through your permit book, if anything is expired, either
Missing or whatever.
Yeah, you can contact the DM, or basically the DM contacts me and I get it to you by email, fax, whatever you need.
Fantastic.
And you're at extension 171?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Crystal. Really appreciate it. And
Y'all have a good day.
I'm sure we'll talk later today.
Thank you.
It was so nice to kind of talk about that specifically. Compliance is always important.
Yes. And especially if people don't know, because they've probably heard us say,
Right.
Crystal. A lot of them are thinking Christy. And I'm like, no, but it's
Yes.
Crystal. And we have a new person. So
Yes.
good to put her face out there and get everyone to know who she is and what she's doing.
And the other part of, we continue to talk about how we're growing and changing and better supporting our drivers. And that's one of those ways is to help them make sure that they're staying in compliance and that we're in compliance as well. So,
But yeah, because really, how often do we look at the expiration on our driver's license or CDLs? I mean,
Never.
It'll dawn on me at my birthday every year because I'm like, oh, do I need to renew this year? Do I not? But it's usually right before your birthday. You're not thinking 30, 60 days in advance. So
Yeah, it's
so
funny
nice.
you guys even mentioned that while you were doing that, having that conversation.
Were you looking?
You guys said that, you were talking about, oh yeah, you got to renew your license, and I was like, oh man. So while you were doing that, I just went online and renewed my license. It
see,
took like 10
perfect.
minutes, so I was
Yeah,
like,
well, and
might as well get it over with.
And they change it because I know when you first get it, like you get it at 16, and then at 18, and then at 21, because at 18 your picture's sideways, and then you need to be, and all these things. But now it's different because Brent and Riley, they didn't have to renew because Brent was turning 21 this year and Riley was turning 18. So it's like, okay, you both need to be doing this because you're not going to be, Riley, you won't be able to go to One Star. Brent, if you're wanting to go legally drink, you're not going to be able to do that. But Riley did have to do hers at 18. It is still required, but at 21, it's not. He doesn't have to actually renew it, I think, until like 24. It was very weird.
I don't have mine renewal until next year.
so
which is
Interesting.
yeah, but I was
I
like,
thought that was very
might as well get it
crazy.
done. I've been using my vertical one to like get into bars and stuff,
Right.
and like everybody always looks at it and they're like, "Are you sure you
See,
can
and
get
that's
in
why I
here?"
thought that they used to make it for sure at 21 because it looks different. So then
Right.
it's easier to identify, okay, this person, it really is 21 instead of having to check it. But I guess the rule now is as long as the date is before 2000.
Crazy.
Oh,
And that's the funny part is somebody was telling me, and for the life of me, I can't remember who it was. I was having a conversation, and they said that they had presented their ID for something, and they briefly looked at it and said, "Oh, you're good." And the response was, "I saw the 19. You're good."
That
You
is
were born in the
crazy.
1900s.
And it's crazy because it's true. It's already
is true.
2021. Like my brother was
yeah.
born in 2003. Yeah,
Same as Riley, yep.
And he's turning 18 this year, and I was like, that's weird. I don't like
Yes.
that. I don't like that at all. So
Welcome to how the rest of us feel.
That's that first step of feeling a little bit older.
Yes.
it's been hitting me. It's
it
been hitting
sneaks
me
up
as of
on you.
late.
Well, it just happens.
So the other thing I wanted to just kind of throw out there, because we're kind of doing more of a question and answer today, is the new guidance. I know that's a topic of conversation. The masks.
The new guidance for COVID.
For COVID.
Yes.
Yes. So what is the official guidance from the CDC?
So, according to the CDC, if you have been fully vaccinated, you can resume activities that you did prior to the pandemic, and that is verbatim what they have on their website. Fully vaccinated people can resume activities without wearing a mask or physically distancing, except where required by federal, state, local, tribal, or territorial laws, rules, and regulations, including local business and workplace guidance. So, in general, if you have been fully vaccinated, some specific things that they list are if you're traveling in the United States, you do not need to get tested before or after travel or self-quarantine. If you are traveling internationally, you do need to check for what their guidelines are on testing, but you don't have to get tested before you leave the U.S.
On the
unless
US
it's
side of it.
necessary. Yes. If what you should keep doing, however, is following guidelines at workplace and local businesses. Watch out for symptoms of COVID-19, even if you are vaccinated. Still important. If I got my flu shot, I still don't want to be around people who have the flu, you know?
Yes.
And of course, be careful around people who do have weaker immune systems, because while you can't contract COVID-19, you can still carry it. So if you have your vaccination, you will not get sick. But if you just left somebody's house and they had COVID,
It's
possible for you to carry that for a
then pass it to
second.
someone
It's not. It doesn't mean you're going to have it on you for 2 weeks. But if you are in contact with somebody within the past day, maybe don't be around people who are immune compromised, who aren't vaccinated, because you don't want to continue spreading that. But yes, essentially, you're okay. I don't know how you guys feel.
It's weird,
about
right?
things.
It is
It's
a
kind of
little
weird.
weird.
I still am like wearing my mask in places and like outside because I feel strange. I was with.
It feels like
weird.
you're breaking
Feels
a
weird.
rule, which is it was what, a year and a half or 14 months or
14
so.
months.
14 months.
And that's how quickly our minds like decided,
Acclimated to-
oh, no, that's the rule now. Where
Yeah.
I've gone 40 years not wearing a mask. That should feel normal.
Yeah, and
But
it's-
I feel like I'm like somebody's giving me a sideways glance or like, what is wrong with you? Why do you not have a mask on? I'm like, because we're not supposed to. We don't have to wear them
to.
anymore. Like, I can see your smile.
So that's huge. We've talked about that before. I am big about facial expressions, and that's how I communicate is both giving off and reading other people's facial expressions. So I'm kind of super excited about that. But that's the other part is like you were talking about. Well, people have said, well, if you have the vaccine, then you shouldn't have to worry about being around other people who are not vaccinated. So there's kind of this weird thing, and I'm obviously not a scientist or anything, but based on the guidance and from my own healthcare provider, which I highly suggest that everyone reach out to their healthcare provider and talk to them with their specific questions about the virus and about the vaccine, and that way they feel comfortable. Someone they trust that is in a position to be educated about it.
Yes. And that way, you've got to do what's best for you.
Absolutely.
Whatever you're comfortable with, and you're getting answers from somebody with a degree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
that knows stuff.
In medicine, not just in general. Like
Yes,
a degree
and
in
also
medicine.
I know there have been quite a few states and governments who are, or I say state governments, local governments who are taking away mask mandates. Just to clear up any sort of confusion about that, they are taking away mandatory mask requirements for government-funded facilities. So that's
Yes, but that's
schools.
what, June 4th, I
Yes,
think?
so that's going to be for schools, government buildings, places like the DMV. Local businesses can still require mask
Absolutely.
mandates. That is a private business and not in the reaches of the government there. So,
And that's important, especially for our drivers, to be paying attention to what facilities that they're going to require it and which ones do not. Like at our facility here, we still do require it when you're walking around the building, when you're out in the driver lounge. We still require that here just as another level of safety for everyone's protection, because we right now do, we don't ask anybody if they have the vaccine or not.
Yes.
Just to follow the ADA.
Because, yeah, we really can't, right?
We really can't.
Yes.
And nor do we want to infringe on anyone's privacy.
Yes.
So the other part of that is you were talking about those that are immunosuppressed. What does that mean? Well, it actually is something that can be quite severe for people who cannot get vaccines because their body will go into hyperdrive, basically. And it causes them, when they are in contact with someone who is ill, or if they get a vaccine, they could potentially get ill from getting that vaccine, or getting seriously ill from being around someone who could be carrying something and be asymptomatic.
Yes.
And so that's really super important. That falls into the same conversation that is being had right now about those that are 12 and under, who do not, or I'm sorry, 11 and under that don't qualify for the vaccine. There is this conversation that's ongoing about what do we do for them. Well, I'll tell you as a mom, my opinion, is they're going to continue to wear their mask when we're out, just because I don't know who's vaccinated and who's not. That's a personal choice for my own self. There are some situations I'm fully vaccinated, which if you don't know what that means that if you got the Johnson & Johnson, you just got the one. If you got the Pfizer or the Moderna, you've got both of them, and you're 2 weeks out from your last injection. That's their guidance on what that means. Until there's enough people who are vaccinated and we've got quote unquote herd immunity, I may still choose in situations where I'm uncomfortable, I may want to continue to wear my mask. So
Right, and it's a personal choice, because you might walk in one place and feel like, okay, I feel okay
I've got
not wearing
space.
it around here.
Yeah.
I'm good. And then somewhere else that's a little more crowded, or you're like, I don't really know if you're cleaning as well as you should be.
Yeah.
Then you might wear your mask there. It's really just up to you. But what is the vaccine? So if I go get the vaccine, are they giving me COVID? No. They are not. I know other vaccines. Yes, that is not the case with COVID.
So what it is they have created this vaccine that creates an immune response in your body, and helps your body to identify that virus. And if for some reason you do get in contact with somebody who could be have that virus, your body would then immediately start producing those antibodies to fight that off. And that's the other part is with any vaccine, we've all had series of vaccines when we were growing up as children, that you are provided that protection, but it doesn't always take for everyone. And that's the part that they also don't really know, is what I'm reading, and I don't think that's been updated yet, is they don't really know what that length of immunity is going to look like. I'm actually one of those that I've received the hepatitis B vaccine so many times because I have built no immunity for it.
That's crazy.
Because they've done titers. My previous life, I worked where it was required. I had to get the Hep B shot. But they would, I got it so late in life that they required that I go get a titer, which is basically they test the level of that in your blood. It was like I never got the shot every single time. And so finally, after the 6th time, I'm like, I'm not doing this again.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, so some people, they don't always respond to it. The same thing you've heard of people that get chickenpox when they're children. Although you get those vaccines, it's supposed to help you not get seriously ill.
Yes.
You may still get sick or ill, but not serious where people...
Hopefully you don't end up in the hospital worst case
Yes.
scenario, you pass
Absolutely.
away. It's supposed to help with all of that.
Yes.
And everyone does respond to it differently, right?
Correct.
So the majority of you know, I had COVID severely, was in the hospital. So I have elected to get the shot because I feel like, well, I already had it and I already know how bad it could be. So let's play the odds here. So I did go get it, but I was also worried because I was like, a lot of people get the first shot,
Yeah.
just have a sore arm, maybe feel bad a couple hours. But then it seems to be that second shot that's kind of taking people out. They're kind of down for a day, body aches, chills, just don't feel
Yeah.
the best. So I wasn't really sure how I was going to react. I was like, so I went, got the first one. Sore arm. I mean, I was popping that Tylenol. That's another thing that I saw. They recommend that you take Tylenol because it needs inflammation. It needs to inflame. And if you take Advil, then, ibuprofen, anything like that, then that's going to fight because it's anti-inflammatory.
Absolutely.
So you're kind of fighting it. So they recommend that you take Tylenol. So I set an alarm to wake me up in the middle of the night so I would take Tylenol because I did not want to be sick. So it was just a sore arm. I was good. So I was like, okay. Went and got my second shot last Tuesday. Same thing, started with the Tylenol, prayed for the best. I put it out there. I was like, look, I already had it really bad. I think I paid my dues. Please, I should not get sick. Happy to say, sore arm, have not been sick. Did get COVID arm. A lot of people wonder, what is COVID
What is
arm?
that?
It is what some people are having a reaction. I will show you mine. You can still kind of see this mark here. So it got red. At first I thought it was just a bruise. Like I thought, oh, that guy didn't stick me very well. But the next day it was a little bit more red and it spread. So it was just like a slight rash and it was a little warm to the touch for a couple days, had a little bit of a bump, but it's going away. It still itches just a little bit, but that's it. And I looked it up because I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to chop my arm off now. Like, what did I do? It's perfectly fine. It's normal. That happens. They know it. It's happening to people. But happy to say, I never
That's
had
wonderful.
another symptom. So, knock
And
on wood, I
see,
got lucky.
I got the first shot. I was fine. I had sore arm, like you guys said, which actually, this whole process reminds me a lot of like the flu shot. And I know we had those around, and it's actually the same exact type of, what is the word I'm looking for? Like distribution into your body. Like the flu
Okay.
shot is the same kind of process as the COVID shot in terms of how it enters your body, what it's doing. The exact same formula, just for a different virus, just for future reference. But also, so the second shot that I got, I took it and I was like, I'm probably going to be fine. And I remember going to sleep and I was like, what are the odds that I wake up tomorrow feeling bad? Probably pretty low, right? It'll be
Yeah,
fine.
because you're young, you're healthy,
Yeah, I
you're
was
good.
like, it's
Yeah.
fine, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
So I went to sleep. It was like a Tuesday. Wake up the next day, and I was slogging. And I really don't get sick. I got sick once this year, and I haven't been sick prior to that in like 2, maybe 3 years. And so it was just like, whoa, I don't even know what this feeling is. This is awful. It wasn't like the worst in the world. Like I was relatively fine by the afternoon, just more so tired and sore. But I definitely did feel like I had a cold for a while in the
something.
morning. Something, yeah. So it's, if you get it, you get it. It's just kind of part of
But
it.
and that's the thing. That's your body's response, and that's actually a good thing. That it kind of tells you that your body is building those antibodies to help you later. So,
Yes.
I did think it was important to kind of talk about it because there's all these questions, and we get all of this stuff from conflicting information, and so we always recommend that you go to the CDC's website to get the full information, and then obviously talk to someone you trust, meaning a healthcare provider, someone in your family that will be educated on it. That's always important that you feel comfortable in making those health decisions for yourself.
Yes.
And at the same time, we recommend if you are in a situation and you don't feel comfortable, continue to wear that mask even if you're vaccinated. Not necessarily for yourself, but for those at home. That's the last thing I want to do is bring that home to my kids who are not vaccinated. And so we'll continue to kind of weed through all of this.
Right? We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
We're still all learning it, but it's good to continue to have these conversations and keep talking about it because it's something we're still all learning from.
Yes, and like you said, because there is conflicting information, and you don't know. I'm here. Well, so and so said this. So and so said this. They don't have to wear a mask, but here you have to wear a
Yes.
mask. So yeah, it gets confusing.
So definitely, just kind of reiterating for our drivers specifically, we want to make sure that you follow the guidance of the shipper or wherever you're going, any places that you're going into along the way. Make sure that you pay attention to what their particular guidance is and follow their rules if they require a mask or not, regardless if you've been vaccinated or not, because
Yes.
private businesses don't fall under that. They still can make those decisions for themselves. So
Yep. And if you're not sure, call us and ask us.
absolutely, and
Yes.
we'll be here. So thank you so much for joining us. It's another Thankful Thursday, and we're thankful for you. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you.